dear students, having done the poem Ulysses, we shall now look at the questions and answers of this poem. This is an interesting poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson, and this poem revolves around the wander-thirsty Ulysses. He always wishes to travel a lot and he never gives up in spite of his old age. Even though he is aged, physically old, his heart is always cheerful and longs for one adventure after another. So he even asks his sailors to follow him, and together they wish to venture to new lands, seek new horizons, never to give up, to keep on seeking, to keep on finding, and to keep achieving their goals. Now let us analyze the questions and answers of this poem. This poem could be divided into three parts. His thirst for adventure, which does not allow Ulysses to remain in his kingdom as a mere ruler. In the second part, Ulysses handing over the responsibility to his son Telemachus with total confidence in his abilities. Now when the ruler is away, the kingdom has to be looked after. So Ulysses hands over the responsibility to his son Telemachus, and he feels that he has entrusted the kingdom into safe hands. And the third section, Ulysses' clarion call to his sailors, urging them to venture into unknown lands. Now let us complete the summary of the poem, choosing words from the list given below. So first, lines 1 to 32, Ulysses is dash to discharge his duties as a dash. So from the words given below, you find out the right word. Ulysses is unwilling to discharge his duties as a ruler, as a king, as he longs for travel. He always wishes to keep traveling. He is filled with an dash thirst, unquenchable thirst. That is, the thirst never gets suppressed. Unquenchable thirst for dash, for adventure, and wishes to live life to the fullest. So he feels that he has lived life to the maximum, to the fullest extent, only when he keeps traveling. He has travelled far and wide, gaining dash of various places, gaining knowledge of various places, cultures, men and matters. He recalls with delight his experience at the Battle of Troy. So he thinks of his past. Enriched by his dash, he longs for more, and his quest seems endless. So enriched by his experience, he longs for more such experience, and his thirst for travel seems endless. Like metal which would rust, which would dash, the word there is rust. If unused, life without adventure is meaningless. So this is a very beautiful statement. So the metal, iron would rust if it is not put to use. Similarly, Ulysses feels that if he does not go on adventurous voyages, his life would be useless, meaningless. He will not gain any fulfillment or satisfaction at all. According to him, living is not merely dash to stay alive. So living is not merely breathing. So when do we remain alive? As long as we breathe, we are alive. Once we stop breathing, we become dead bodies. So here he says that living is not merely breathing to stay alive. Though old but zestful. Zestful is enthusiastic. Ulysses looks at every hour as the bringer of new things and yearns to follow knowledge, even if it is dash, even if it is unattainable. So that is the first part. It tells you about Ulysses' thirst for wandering, for travel, for learning new things, for visiting various countries, for learning much about men, matters, culture and all such things, and how he feels that his life as an idle king becomes useless. Now we move on to lines 33 to 42. So Ulysses desires to hand over his dash to his son Telemachus. So naturally he is the king, so he would like to hand over his kingdom. The answer there is kingdom to his son Telemachus, who would fulfill his duties towards his subjects with care and dash. Care and prudence, wisdom. Prudence is being wise. Telemachus possesses patience and has the will to civilize the citizens of Ithaca in a dash way, in a tender way. So Telemachus is one such person who shows gentleness, kindness towards his citizens. He expresses his concern towards them and he is able to tame them, bring them into the right path, groom them properly. He has this wonderful quality of exhibiting tenderness. Ulysses is happy that his son would do his work blamelessly and he would pursue his dash for travel and knowledge. So, he would pursue his quest. Quest is search. So, he would keep on searching and attaining more knowledge, and he would keep travelling while his son would look after his kingdom. So, he need not feel guilty about abandoning his kingdom. He has entrusted the kingdom into the right hands of Telemachus. Now, we move on to the third part, lines 44 to 70. So, Ulysses beckons his sailors to dash at the port. So, what have they to do? They have to gather at the port. They have to assemble at the port where the ship is ready to sail. So, now everything is ready for the journey, for the voyage. They will have to get into the ship and start sailing. His companions, who have faced both dash and sunshine with a smile, both thunder, the answer is thunder, thunder and sunshine with a smile, are united by their undying spirit of adventure. So, what about his companions? They overcome many hardships. They face both good things, joyous occasions and tribulations in their voyage, trials and tribulations, shortcomings, so many handicaps, obstructions in their voyage. But they have taken both with a smile. They face both situations with a smile because all of them, they are united because of their undying thirst, their everlasting thirst for knowledge and adventure. Though death would end everything, Ulysses urges his companions to join him and sail beyond the sunset and seek a newer dash regardless of consequences. So, seek a newer horizon, or here heaven. So, a newer world. World is the right answer here. So, either horizon, the option given here is world. So, you can choose world. So, they are going to seek a newer world regardless of consequences. So, whatever be the hardships, they would overcome all these successfully and they would enter a new world. These brave hearts who had once moved heaven and earth. So, that is the collocation. It comes together, heaven and earth, trials and tribulations, thunder and sunshine. So, here these people had the courage and the undaunted spirit to move both heaven and earth, that is, do anything in order to achieve their goal. May have grown old and weak physically, but their spirit is young and dash. So, how is their spirit? Undaunted. What is undaunted? Never getting defeated. So, they are very courageous, their spirit is bold, brave, seeking new arenas. So, they got that fiery spirit in them, that thirst for visiting newer worlds. His call is an inspiration for all those who seek true knowledge and strive to lead dash lives, meaningful lives. Remember earlier Ulysses said, merely I don't exist merely for breathing. So, I live my life in order to seek adventures. So, here his friends are also like-minded. The fellow sailors, they are also like-minded. So, they wish to seek true knowledge and they wish to lead meaningful lives. All these travels and adventures would add some meaning and glory to their life. So, this is the summary. So, remember you will have to write one paragraph. So, you can condense these and write, or if the question is according to the sections. What are the three sections? We saw them earlier. So, the first question could be, describe Ulysses's love for adventure, or why does Ulysses feel upset on remaining in his own kingdom? So, these lines 1 to 32 would be the answer. Then the next question could be, whom does Ulysses hand over the kingdom to during his absence? So, here you will write the other lines, lines 33 to 42. And then the third question, Ulysses' clarion call to his sailors. So, how does Ulysses set on his voyage into unknown lands or seeking new horizons? So, here lines 44 to 70. Now, we move on to short answers. So, answer the following questions in 1 or 2 sentences each. So, these are 1 mark questions. These might come under comprehension or appreciation section. Now, look at this question. Ulysses is not happy to perform his duties as a king. Why? So, the answer is, Ulysses does not want to be an idle king. He likes to travel. He wants to travel beyond the horizon. Now, second question, what does he think of the people of his kingdom? So, he thinks that these people are savages. The people of his kingdom are savages. So, they do not even know their ruler. They lead a mechanical life without any adventure, without any true spirit of enthusiasm. Third question, What has Ulysses gained from his travel experiences? So answer, he has seen and known people of many cities. So he's visited quite a lot of countries and places. So he's seen many people and he's visited so many cities. He has come to know the manner, climate, councils and government and cultures of different countries and cities. Pick out the lines which convey that his quest for travel is unending. So these are the lines. Yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untravelled world whose margin fades. So experience is like an arch through which the new world keeps gleaming, shining, and its margin fades as we approach it, as we near it, as we go towards it. Next question, as though to breathe were life. So in a condescending manner he says, as though to breathe were life. So what's the meaning of these few words? So don't think that life is merely for breathing. So you're alive only to breathe. So don't think so. From the given line, what do you understand of Ulysses' attitude to life? So Ulysses does not like to stay in a place, stationary. He's always on the lookout for adventures. To him, life is not merely for breathing. Every hour has some experience to offer. So every hour is utilized in a proper manner by Ulysses. He doesn't remain stagnant. He doesn't remain idle. He doesn't remain chained or pinned to his kingdom. He only wishes to keep traveling and traveling. What does Ulysses yearn for? Yearn is long, desire for. So Ulysses yearns for knowledge. He wants to improve his knowledge, expand his knowledge. Who does the speaker address in the second part? So actually towards the end of the poem, so he addresses the aged sailors. He calls them to come and join him. It's a clarion call given to the sailors. So together they are going to move on to newer lands. They are going to undertake a long journey full of difficulties. He even says that he doesn't know whether he would return alive to his kingdom. So anything might happen to them on the way. They may lose their lives, or they may go to islands. They may meet Achilles, the famous Achilles, and they may visit wonderful heavens. Why did Ulysses want to hand over the kingdom to his son? Ulysses desires to hand over his kingdom to his son Telemachus because it would set him free to go on his last voyage. How would Telemachus transform the subjects? Telemachus would fulfill his duties towards his subjects with care and prudence. He would be very wise in his attitude and decisions. Telemachus possesses patience and diligence to civilize the citizens of Ithaca in a gentle way. He works his work, I mine. How is the work distinguished? So this is a beautiful line. So it shows Ulysses' sense of relief. He doesn't feel guilty for having abandoned his kingdom and for having gone away from his kingdom. He doesn't leave his citizens in the lurch. Instead, he has assigned the responsibility to an able leader in the form of his son Telemachus. So Ulysses' work is to go to different places seeking adventure. So that's why he says, I mind my business, I do my work. Telemachus, his son's work is to rule his kingdom. So he works his work. Who works his work? Telemachus. So here you got a beautiful grammatical category also. Works his work. Works is a verb. So Telemachus works, carry out the work. His work. Here work is a noun. So Telemachus carries out the work of caring for the citizens, looking after the country in the absence of his father Ulysses. In what ways were Ulysses and his mariners alike? Ulysses and his mariners were old, but they had the honor of old age. So old age, it fills you with wisdom. You're very ripe with knowledge and wisdom. You know how to tackle things, how to face or how to react when you're confronted with difficulties, how to face hardships in life, how to overcome them. They were closer to death, but they wanted to do some noble work before their end. All these are aged people, so they know that they would die soon. But even then, even at the fag end of their life, they wanted to do something useful, exciting and adventurous. So all of them are like-minded. What could be the possible outcomes of their travel? So the sea in the Gulf may wash them down. They might get drowned while on the voyage. If their ship is affected by the storm, their lives would be lost. And they may reach the happy isles which are together known as Greek paradise. Or on the other hand, they might go to a wonderful island which is called Happy Isles. So it's the equivalent of heaven there. They may see the great Achilles. So Achilles, there's an idiom called Achilles' heel. So what is Achilles' heel? The vulnerable part, the weakest point in one's character or in one's behavior. So Achilles, he was the little child. When he was a little child, his mother dipped him into the water, holding him by his heel. So when she dipped him into the water, it gave him eternity. But since the mother held him by the heel, only that part was not covered by water. And that is how he lost his life. An arrow was shot at him. It was targeted at his heel. He got hurt there and he lost his life. Now let's move on to the next part, the figures of speech. Through scudding drifts, the rainy Hyades vex the dim sea. So here you find personification. Rainy Hyades. So Hyades, as if rainy Hyades, as if it is a living person. For all, and vex the dim sea. That is why it becomes personification. What is personification? Attributing the qualities of a human being to something that is lifeless. For always roaming with a hungry heart. So hungry heart, the heart that longs for travel and adventure. So that is a metaphor. And drunk delight of battle with my peers. So again metaphor, drunk delight of battle. Battle itself becomes delight. Battle is delightful, delight of battle. So it is a metaphor. The deep moans round with many voices. So deep, the blue sea moans round. So the waves keep producing noise. So here it is as though a human being keeps emitting sound. Therefore it is personification. To follow knowledge like a sinking star. Remember, whenever you get the words like and as, they are indicators of the figure of speech simile. So here the figure of speech found is simile. There lies the port. The vessel puffs her sail. So the vessel, the ship puffs her sail. It's getting ready to move. So the vessel is personified as a human being. Therefore it is personification. There lies the port. Again an attribute to qualities that are human-like. We shall now discuss some appreciation questions from the poem Ulysses. All these questions carry 1 mark each. Read the sets of lines from the poem and answer the questions that follow. I meet and dole unequal laws unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. What does Ulysses do? Ulysses frames laws and administers justice to a savage race. Meet and dole, frame and administer. So he frames laws and he just makes them effective. He effects those laws unto whom? Unto people who are savages. Did he enjoy what he was doing? Give reasons. So how can we know that? I meet and dole unequal laws unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and feed. That's your clue. I am not doing it with any interest. He did not enjoy what he was doing. His main goal was to sail seeking new adventures. His interest lies elsewhere. His interest is only in traveling. So how will he be happy or satisfied with framing laws and rules to a set of people? Just mechanically, monotonously. So, and his subjects did not understand his noble ambition. So they belonged to a savage race and he did not derive any joy out of framing rules for such a race. Yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untravelled world whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. So what is experience compared to? Experience is compared to an arch through which one can seek further knowledge in the untravelled world. How do the lines convey that the experience is endless? Now when we see through the arch, the end fades away and immediately a new sight emerges. So you are at the threshold, you enter the territory through the arch, so that part is over and yet another part is open before you. So you keep on moving further and further, farther and farther. So experience is endless. Little remains, but every hour is saved from that eternal silence, something more, a bringer of new things, and while it were. How is every hour important to Ulysses? Now Ulysses wants to utilize whatever time is left with him. So every hour is important to him. What does the term little remains convey? The term little remains conveys that only little time is left with Ulysses because he is already old. Death awaits him and his life on the earth, his lifespan is very brief. So that is why he says little remains. Little part of my life remains. I have exhausted the maximum years. Now I got only a few more years to live and realize my ambition. This is my son, my own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle, well loved of me. Who does Ulysses entrust his kingdom to in his absence? Ulysses entrusts his kingdom to his son Telemachus in his absence. Bring out the significance of the scepter. Now scepter in Tamil you call it Sengol. So scepter is the decorated staff. Staff is a stick carried by kings. It is a symbol of his kingly power. It symbolizes his power, his authority, his supremacy. So that is the scepter. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. So when you read the lines again and again, the meaning dawns on you. Though the poem appears lengthy and seems to be difficult, in reality it is not so. You keep reading it, refer to the glossary, associate the meanings with the terms, and definitely you will be able to understand this poem well. Now this is a very good advice for all of us in our life. Now though made weak by time and fate, the hearts are heroic. Explain. So Ulysses and the sailors may be weak due to age and their fate, but they all have a very heroic heart. They have the fortitude of mind to brave any storm. So they have a very strong temperament, a strong willpower, which will help them overcome any difficulty. That is what is meant by fortitude of mind and storm. They can face any difficulty, they can overcome all challenges because they got a strong will. So they are ready to overcome any difficulties or challenges that they may face during their voyage. Pick out the words in alliteration in the above lines. So heroic and hearts, H and H. Weak, will, W and W. Strive, seek, S and S. Now we move on to the next part, the 3-mark question. Explain with reference to the context the following lines. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Now whenever the given line is the last line of the poem, you could state it in your context. You can have 3 headings: context, explanation, comment. What does the context say? It tells you which poem the lines are from and who the author of the poem is. Then explanation, a brief idea of what has taken place earlier and the exact meaning of these lines. That is your explanation. Then comment, the general idea that you derive on reading the lines. So please don't write sentences like this poem is very good, this is a nice poem. Please avoid such things. Comment is the idea you gather on reading those lines, the specific idea that you gather, that you gain. So please make it very precise and write 1 sentence, that would do, 1 or 2 sentences, not more than that. Now I have given you an example, just see how it is done. Since this happens to be the last line, you could state in our context that this is the concluding line of the poem Ulysses, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So the name of the poem and the name of the poet. And because you are sure that this is the last line, you can state that this is the concluding line. Suppose the line occurs initially, it happens to be the first line, you could say this is the opening line of the poem. If you have more than 1 line, you could say these are the opening lines of the poem, and again these are the concluding lines of the poem. Or if you don't know where it occurs, simply these are lines from the poem, such and such a poem by this author. So that could be your context. Explanation. So what does he say here? To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. So Ulysses wants to deliver a message to his fellow sailors. He desires to psychologically prepare them for a dangerous voyage. He urges them to keep on exploring. So now you get the exact meaning of the given line. To keep on exploring, striving, seeking, to seek, finding new horizons, exploring new territories and areas, and not to yield, and never giving in to weakness or difficult challenges. And then the comment, the brave attitude of Ulysses and the undaunted thirst for travel are portrayed in the given line. It's only 1 line, so you stop with given line. And this is a very beautiful piece of advice for us in our life. So we should never give up in the face of challenges or hardships. We should develop that stamina to overcome all these difficulties, to find solutions to the problems. We should not keep moaning and weeping and crying, and should not take any drastic measures whenever we come across any difficulty in our life. Our aim, our goal should be fixed. We should never deviate from it. We should never give it up. Instead, we have to keep on working hard, and we should prove to everyone that we can become successful. So now we have a paragraph question. What is Ullysses' clarion call to his sailors? How does he inspire them? So just summarize his message, his clarion call, the way he addresses the sailors. So give the key points here. Now Ullysses, the legendary warrior and sailor who took part in the Trojan War, spends 3 years in Ithaca, that is his kingdom. He is not happy with the idle business of ruling and guiding a savage race. So he is not at all comfortable there. His mind is always interested only in travelling. So he feels very, very uncomfortable and restless. He listens to the moans of the sea and realizes that the sea is calling him for adventure. He is conscious of the fact that his fellow sailors, like himself, who once moved earth and heaven, no longer have the same physical strength. So first you just give a point of view of Ullysses' mind and then his mentality, and then you talk about how he longs for the company of his sailors. So he realizes that both he and the sailors have become old. They've lost the physical strength. He also understands the risk of being washed down in the deep ocean. So he knows that they might get drowned during their voyage. Old age does have its honor, and still there is reserve of energy. So even though the will is strong, the body is weak. They can do some work of noble note before they breathe their last. So this is what he advises the sailors. He says they could do something noteworthy and noble before they die. Perhaps he himself is like the sinking star, speeding up towards his inevitable hour of death. So he is nearing his death. With every passing day, he is one step nearer to his grave. But he persuades his fellow sailors that he already has gained experience like arch, which awaits them to explore untraveled worlds. So the arch tempts him. So it invites him to keep on exploring. It is never late to seek newer knowledge. So you can keep on traveling till the end of your life. He tempts them with the possibility of meeting Achilles, the great Greek hero Achilles, and reaching happy isles and eternal heaven, the Greek paradise. He wants them to strive to seek and find and not to yield. So he calls out that it is not too late to discover a newer world. They can leave the shore and sail beyond the sunset, exploring until they die. Perhaps they will even go to happy isles and meet Achilles. So their vigor is still alive, even though they are physically weak. So their heroic hearts are strong in will, and that helps them to persevere, to explore and discover and never give up. So dear students, that should be our motto in life. We should keep on working hard till the last. We should never remain idle. We should keep seeking new things. We should keep on expanding our knowledge. Here Ullysses had the capacity and potential to travel. We have the capacity and potential to keep on learning more and more new things, absorbing everything and becoming more intelligent and learned. So practice that in your life. So never give up whenever there are hardships. Develop a bold personality, a strong mental courage and will, and overcome all your hardships. Definitely all of you will shine in life. So this is the noble lesson that we learn from the poem Ullysses. Thank you.